Good morning, everyone. This is update for July 28, 2022, day 155 of the war, end of the date update. As always, we're gonna discuss a little bit economy today, and then we're gonna switch to the front line. So first, let's sort of continue what's going on in the Ukrainian economy, and specifically with this cascading defaults. So if you remember, a few days ago we were discussing about the default of Naftogaz, and then Ukrainian government was successful in restructuring its debt to the sovereigns, to the let's say read US, other Western economies. This is Paris Club, but then it's still doing negotiations with the private lenders, where we think the success is probably very low. So now, and then we discussed the point that Ukrainian government decided to make strategic decision. If restructuring is not successful, then default. So basically, there won't be any continuation of payment on the debts, and that's probably facing reality. Ukrainian economy is probably is not probably, but it is. Sort of shadow itself at this point, so there's definitely no ability to pay on those debts. So today there are two more, call it quasi-government entities, or entities that effectively controlled by the government, but they were direct borrowers on international markets. One is called Ukravtodor. This is the, call it like a road administration system that's sort of in charge of maintaining, repairing roads, and so on. So it's announced that it's trying to restructure its debts with on international markets. Probably this is not going to be successful, and it's probably going to default as well in short order. Then there is another one, similar entity. It's Ukrenergo. This is a transmission system, or power transmission system in Ukraine. Plus, it also acts as an energy market, and specifically this bonds that they issued were to pay producers of renewable energy, specifically solar and wind energy. And because it's another story about this whole call it, I would say, corrupt system, how it was set up, and it actually goes all the way back to Yanukovych time. But essentially, the sort of few oligarchs figure out that this renewable energy is a good way to extract basically money from the government, from the society as a whole. So they lobbied extremely high rates and payment rates on this renewable energy. Then they built tons of this solar power plants and wind here in the southern Ukraine. Now this is all obviously not functioning. Most of it is under Russian controlled territories, so it's all anyways gone. But the debts are still there, and this Ukrenergo, because basically the energy market was, Ukrainian government was trying to kind of play populism, meaning because this Ukrenergo made commitment to pay high rates per kilowatt to these producers of renewable energy, and then on the other side, Ukrainian government didn't want to increase rates that regular consumers are paying and then general economy is paying. So what they figure out sort of solution, okay, we're going to go to international markets, borrow on international markets, and the borrower will be this Ukrenergo, and then this Ukrenergo will pay to these producers of alternative energy. So as you can see, it's total boondoggle. All of the oligarchs that are in Ukraine were obviously built all of this. It's all essentially controlled by them. There's also some Chinese interest there. So it's totally was not working for Ukraine as a whole, as a country, not working for Ukrainian economy. And so this whole scheme is falling apart essentially. It's obviously unclear how those investors were sort of willing to do that without doing any analysis, but that's what happens when you don't really think where you put your money. So in the end, this whole system is unraveling, and probably Ukrenergo will be in default in short order, essentially. So that's about Ukraine. Another sort of few drops of sort of sorry state of affairs in Ukrainian economy. Now let's switch to Russian economy and see what's going on there. So first of all, Russian Statistical Bureau reported that Russian economy fell by 4.9% in June relative to June 2021, so year on year, and the cumulative decline since the beginning of the year for Russian economy is 4%, so it's for 6 months. That does not really jive with the numbers, with the information we were presenting before about, car production is essentially idled, production of the home appliances, basically 20-30% of its prior numbers. So everything is going in the wrong direction and in huge numbers. So it's unclear how the economy is just falling, let's say 5% in June. So that's probably some kind of, as I call, statistics going on there. Nevertheless, that's the formal numbers that were reported by Russian Statistical Bureau. Then sort of some another information on the real economy in Russia. So the supplies of the home appliances and consumer electronics fell to Russia significantly. In some categories, it's up to 75%. So the retailers in Russia are starting to report shortages of some of the consumer electronics, specifically Samsung cell phones starting to disappear in Russia, and they expect severe shortages of home appliances and consumer electronics in Russia sometime in the fall. So things are definitely not going well there. And then also related to this or to consumers is shopping malls. So the construction of shopping malls in Russia fell to the 2004 level, and it fell by, let's say, 75% from the peak in probably 2021. So the amount of the shopping malls that are being built in the first half of this year fell to 95,000 square meters, and in 2004 it was around 74,000 square meters in the 6 months of 2004. So you see the drops are really huge, and it really does not jive with the GDP number that's being reported by the Russian Statistical Bureau. So nevertheless, this is the sort of situation in the Russian economy. Now let's actually move to the front line. Let's actually first do general kind of assessment what's going on, and then we're gonna go through the front line as we always do. So first of all, let's go back to the HIMARS attacks. So what happened? The most important, there was another attack not against the bridges, but against the railroad station here, Brylivka. If you remember, we explained that there are two main railroads that feed sort of, let's say, this Kherson bridgehead. One goes straight to Russia near Melitopol, then it goes to this Novokakhovka over the dam, and then it just kind of feeds there. And the other one goes through Kherson. It's coming from Crimea, right? So this time the attack was against this line that goes from Crimea, and this Brylivka is actually on this freshwater channel. So we don't know exactly where the hit was, somewhere in Brylivka. So we're assuming that the hit was against the railroad bridge that sort of crosses this freshwater channel in Brylivka. That's assumption. We just know it was in Brylivka. We don't know exactly where. So that's we can see that there is continued focus on destroying supplies of the reserves and material and everything and ammunition to Kherson bridgehead. At the same time, Russian troops are quickly building pontoon bridge next to the Antonievsky bridge in Kherson that was essentially, it's not operational anymore. We cannot say it's completely destroyed. It was severely damaged. So basically, they hoping to renew fix the supply and logistics in a short order. We're pretty sure there will be new attacks against that bridge and it's going to be destroyed. So basically, as we discussed, this is going to be relatively drawn out, this war against Russian logistics, but eventually the writing is on the wall. This is going to be destroyed, and the Russian troops will be depleted of the major resources to continue to successfully continue fighting on the Kherson bridgehead. At the same time, there were attacks, successful attacks against Russian ammunition depots. Here, a little bit southeast of Donetsk, there was a large hit in Ilovaisk. There was a huge explosion there. So, at the same time, as you can see, Russian troops continuing heavy artillery fire here west of Donetsk. So, it really does not impede Russians' artillery ability to continue what they've been doing. So basically, that machine that we always discuss, that Russian artillery does heavy barrage, destroys everything, creates moon landscape, and then the Russian troops are mopping up resistance. That machine was not broken, as we suspected. Was sort of okay. There are sort of short-term glitches in that, but at large, it still functions and still works. So nothing has changed there. And as we just want to confirm that Russian troops apparently started large offensive west of Donetsk towards Avdiyivka. So that's happening. They are attacking. We as we mentioned yesterday, that seems pretty suicidal overall. Nevertheless, they do that. Apparently, there's some kind of plan there behind that attack. And then the other area of sort of activity is this North Donbass front line. We'll discuss it once we get there. Essentially, this North Donbass and this area west of Donetsk are two main areas where there's still sort of active fighting is going on. The rest is essentially on pause from all perspectives, with the exception of this Kherson bridgehead, where apparently Ukrainian side is preparing to launch some kind of offensive down the road. Even though it started, it didn't work out again, but we're pretty sure that they will try later once they feel that Russian troops here were drained of resources enough not to be able to successfully defend Kherson bridgehead. Now let's actually switch to the walk through the front line. So we're going to start from the very north, going down in a clockwise fashion. So the first, the situation along the border. The exchange of the fire a little bit intensified. So it was down a little bit yesterday. Now it's back up again. So it's just kind of like up and down. Nothing really major is happening there. Now let's move to Kharkiv section of the front line. Things here are, as we discussed, the positional on pause. Essentially, nothing major is happening here at this point. Now let's jump quickly to Izyum bridgehead. Things here again the same. Essentially, everything is on pause. We're not even sure that all of these large Russian units are even still here. There's probably some screening units from them are still here, but we have big suspicion that most of them have been transferred to North Donbass or area straight west of Donetsk. As soon as we sort of confirm that, we'll let you know, but essentially that's what it is, because Russian side did not get more troops, so they have to kind of like maneuver with what they have and sort of concentrate in the areas where they want to achieve some progress. So, and since this being quiet for quite a while, we assume that most of them has been withdrawn from here. Now let's move to actually this North Donbass section of the front line. So Russian command a little bit switched the direction of the attacks. So this northern sector of the northern stretch has been relatively quiet, and the attacks were actually more kind of like in the central area. So first of all, this Berestove, where there were no success against new attacks against this village Yakovlivka, no success. Where the Russian troops having success is actually they managed to squeeze out Ukrainian troops from village Pokrovske, so they fully control it, and they also managed to push Ukrainian defenses a little bit more closer to Soledar. So it's essentially they gained some ground here. Now let's look at the southern section of this northern Donbass front line, where areas where also Russian troops managed to achieve progress is they kind of created this salient southern of this village Vershyna to in the direction of the village Kodema. So again, it creates, given that Ukrainian troops are not really able to do active defense and counterattack and so on. So the sort of the fate, the future of this is pretty clear. So apparently, probably in some time in I don't know a week or could be as soon as 2 days, maybe 2 weeks. Essentially, this village Semihirya is going to be lost because this is Ukrainian salient. Russian troops will create enough problem with resupply of Ukrainian troops in Semihirya. They will probably have artillery control of this road, and eventually this gonna be lost. This is kind of like the way it works right now. It's very clear that Ukrainian command does not have strategic answer to the Russian way of attacking and slowly but surely conquering, like, a little bit territory every, let's say, whatever, every week, whatever with time we can sort of look at it. So this is this North Donbass section of the front line. Let's move south to this area west of Donetsk. So Russian, it is first of all summary. Russian troops did not have progress here. The area of the attack, as you can see, is the same where they were attacking before. So again, the focus is an objective is this town of Avdiyivka. They also attacking in the area that's around international Donetsk International Airport that they actually control, but it's straight west of that airport. So this is basically the section of the front line where they focusing right now. So as you can see, it's not wide section of the front line. It's fairly concentrated area. Now let's quickly look at Zaporizhia front line. Things here are positional, as we discussed, as we've seen many times. And just a reminder, the defense here is built around strongholds, and it's from both sides because this front line is long, and both sides don't have enough troops here to really create a continuous front line. Now let's move to Kherson bridgehead. So things again, this Brylivka is somewhere around here where we're showing. So that's the crossing over this channel with fresh water. So apparently the attack was against that bridge because it's much harder to repair. And then railroad bridge is kind of like going a little bit south of this Antonivsky bridge. So that just to update on this whole situation with the supply, because there was no sort of movement on the front line, was more or less stable. Not even Russian attacks against this small bridgehead that Ukrainian troops have. So the situation is the following: the Antonivsky bridge, which is the main and the main sort of capacity, main throughput, the most important one, is effectively not operational. So you cannot really use any heavy equipment over transport over it. So it's essentially, sort of people can walk through it. So if there is a pressing need, the soldiers can kind of cross it. Maybe something light can cross it. We don't know, maybe like sort of like passenger cars and stuff like that, but nothing really heavy can cross it. So, and this was again the majority of their sort of, let's say, it takes 100% of their supply of this side. This probably like 50% of it, or maybe even 60% of it. So this is huge chunk of the supply of the whole side. Then there is a railroad bridge right here, also was damaged. So again, we don't know extent of the damage, but there is a good chance that it's also not operating. Then there is a bridge here, also not operational. That's over this river in Hulets. Russian troops are have built pontoon bridge here, and then they also built in the process of building pontoon bridge right next to Antonievsky bridge. So the basically throughput will diminish significantly, and that's obviously first step. Russian troops are not command is not giving up, but we're pretty sure that there will be attacks against the pontoon bridges, and they are much more easier to destroy. And the second problem, the throughput is much smaller. So then this is the only other remaining sort of not well I can say bridge, or that's really road over the dam. This also was severely damaged. It's barely usable. The Russian troops repaired. Well, they used actually Ukrainian sort of contractors to repair it. The repair was not sort of properly done in a way that it's not repaired structurally, so it's kind of like how to say filling the pots on the road in a way, kind of like low quality repairs, putting band-aid basically. So it's not clear how long it will be able to function. In any case, this was relatively not big throughput. The capacity to throughput capacity is relatively low here. So in any case, this is going to be, as we discussed, the deaths by 1,000 cuts, but the major cuts have been done, and the only question is to continuing attacks on the pontoon bridges and sort of more attacks against the bridges to make them even sort of less functional. The only other one that this we still don't have full assessment of the railroad bridge here. We know it's been damaged, but to what extent it's unclear at this point. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and until tomorrow. Bye bye.